1963, Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail delivered an important statement on civil rights and civil disobedience. Dr. King wrote the letter in response to a group of 8 white Birmingham, Alabama clergymen who wrote in a newspaper that Dr. King was an outside agitator and that the people living under the brutal Jim Crow laws should be more patient in waiting for equal rights.
The 1963 racial crisis in Birmingham was a critical turning point in the struggle for African American civil rights. Although King's letter was not published until after the Birmingham crisis was resolved, it is widely regarded as the most important written document of the modern civil rights movement and a classic text on civil disobedience.
April 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas, but since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be in patient and reasonable terms.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with narrow, provincial, outside agitator ideas. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds.
In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps: collection of the facts to determine whether injustices exist, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. We have gone through all of these steps.
You may well ask, why direct action? Why sit-ins, marches, and so forth? Isn't negotiations a better path? You are quite right in calling for negotiations. Indeed, this is the very purpose and direction.
Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. I have earnestly opposed violent tension, but there is a type of construction, nonviolent tension, which is necessary for growth.
We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see, with one of our distinguished jurists, that justice too long delayed is justice denied.
Perhaps it is easy to those who have never felt the stinging darts of segregation to say wait. But when you have seen vicious mobs lynch your mothers and fathers at will and drown your sisters and brothers at whim, when you have seen hate-filled policemen curse, kick, and even kill your black brothers and sisters, when you see the vast majority of your 20 million Negro brothers smothering in the airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society, when you suddenly find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't go to the public amusement park that has been just advertised on television, and see tears welling up in her eyes when she is told that Funtown is closed to colored children, and see ominous clouds of inferiority beginning to form in her little mental sky, and see her beginning to distort her personality by developing an unconscious bitterness towards white people.
When you have to concoct an answer for a 5-year-old son who is asking, "Daddy, why do white people treat colored people so mean?" When you take a cross-county drive and find it necessary to sleep night after night in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile because no motel will accept you. When you are humiliated day in and day out by nagging signs reading, quote unquote white and quote unquote colored, when your first name becomes nigger, your middle name becomes boy, however old you are, and your last name becomes John, and your wife and mother are never given the respected title Mrs.
When you are harried by day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stance, never quite knowing what to expect next, and are plagued by the inner fears and outer resentments, when you are forever fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait. There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over, and men are no longer willing to be plunged into an abyss of despair. I hope, sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoiding impatience.
I must make honest confessions to you. Over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection.
Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself. If I have said anything in this letter that overstates the truth and indicates an unreasonable impatience, I beg you to forgive me. If I have said anything that understates the truth and indicates my having a patience that allows me to settle for anything less than brotherhood, I beg God to forgive me.
Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities. And in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation with all their scintillating beauty. Yours for the cause of peace and justice, written by the Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. With that, I thank my colleagues. We invite staff and officers to join us as we now bring to the podium Valerie Gay. We will now enjoy both song, dance, and spirituals with Carol Hall. Valerie?
And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to live with my Lord and be free.
Well, we wanted to show both our history and our present. And there's a way, while I didn't do any modern songs, the idea of stringing together a series of songs and basically kind of going through the history of Black people in the United States from slavery through the Civil Rights Movement. And so all of these things, starting with, oh, freedom, thinking about freedom, that I'm free, and now, oh no, here I am. And the wade in the water piece was one of those double entendre pieces. It's one of those slave songs where folks in the field would say to people, go ahead, now is time. So people were sacrificing their own freedom to let their friends and their family go ahead, but to giving them the go ahead to go ahead, to escape. And then at the same time, you can imagine if you've been taken from your home, especially if you've been taken from your mother, and like what that feels like, or never, even in slavery, not being able to have a full relationship with your parents and what that feels like. I just feel like a motherless child. And then finally, we shall overcome, the civil rights anthem. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I believe that we shall overcome. That's so this idea, and then throughout it, having the African drums underneath of it, so just rooting us in our present and our past.
We shall overcome someday.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. Councilwoman Brown did a fantastic job putting together today's event. I think that, just hearing the music really does put folks in the mood and in the mindset to think about our culture and the contributions that African Americans have really made to our city and to our nation as a whole. And, I couldn't be prouder of the work that she did, that the singing from Enon, the dancing, it really does lend itself to lifting your spirit and feeling good about African American culture and our experiences here.
I'll say yes. Yes to your way. Yes, in spite of the trials I face every day. And when I think about all that you I'll say yes to your will, yes to your way. Come on, put your hands together with us. Yes, in spite of what I face every day. But when I think about all that my soul cries out, Jesus.
Well, I love the arts. I completely love the arts, and I love history, the study of history, and the opportunity to blend those two themes together is a first for City Council, although this is our second year doing it. And I would be remiss not to say thank you to President Clark and the leadership team for opening up space in our demanding schedules to do this. And so I did it because I love the arts, and arts have a way of bringing people together, no matter where we come from or who we are or whatever our station is in life. And today, as we saw with the Enon Tabernacle choir and the song and dance, it lifts our spirits, and we forget for a minute whatever is on our hearts.
Can we look forward to seeing more of this in 2015 and 16 and 17 and 18?
My hope is to make this a tradition in Philadelphia City Council. We want it to grow bigger and better every year, where residents and occupants in City Hall, no matter what office you're in, will feel inspired to come and celebrate our rich history.
Well, the first thing that inspired me to come is that I actually helped put it together. So I had to come. There was no doubt about that. But it was just an exciting day. We did one last year, and we wanted to make sure that we enhanced it. We got artwork this year, and we brought back the top things from last year, like Enon and Valerie Gay, who's over here to my right. It's just been a great day.
What made you put the singers, the poetry, what's next? Like, do you plan on putting drama? What's going on? I just want to know what's going on with City Hall.
We don't know what's going to happen next. We're still relishing in what just happened today, which we thought was pretty awesome. We had a great program today. We're going to go back next year. We're always trying to take it up a notch, so maybe it will be drama. You never know. If you have some suggestions for us, we'll take them.
Oh, this was a wonderful opportunity to be a part of this. I actually own the art gallery and I curated the art exhibit. I identified 2 artists that really tells the story of Black history, which is our history. So we have Lavette Ballard, who represents and has illustrated all the women in the bold, beautiful colors, as well as Willis Nomo, who has the male figures, and they're rooted within the history in our culture.
It's beautiful. So what's your reaction on today's event?
Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I mean, I think cultural arts is important. So to have the literary piece, the performance art, the food, the language, all of that is portals to our culture and our history. So it's just really exciting to be a part of this. And congratulations to the councilwomen for a wonderful event as always.
Thank you so much for being a part.
My pleasure. Thank you.